Well, hi kids. I am so excited to get to see you and talk to you today about our next lesson about spy kids. And you see, Boynton is here with me and he has his spy gear on. He's got his mask. Are you trying to sneak around so nobody knows who you are? Oh, very good. Well, Boynton, I'm so glad you're here. We're going to see you in just a little bit, okay? All right. Boynton's going to go over here just for a second while I chat with you about what we're going to learn about today. So, we have been learning about Daniel and how he and his friends kind of were like spies in a different land. They were in a place that was foreign to them, and they learned an awful lot about life. And we're going to continue today talking about Daniel's friends. Last week I said I shared with you one of my favorite stories. It was about Daniel in the lion's den. That is a close one. I love this story today. It's about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Can you say those? Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, right? Those are Daniel's friends. They also are written about in the book of Daniel, and they help us to talk about peer pressure. Do you know what peer pressure is? It's like when your group of friends is doing something and it could be good or bad. And because they're doing it, you want to do it too. So let's say your friends are working hard on a school project and you're like, I want to be like my friends. And so you start working hard on your school project. That's positive peer pressure, good peer pressure, right? Let's think about negative peer pressure. What might that be? Let's say some of your friends are making fun of a kid at recess. And because they're doing it, you think, I think I'm going to make fun of that person too. Is that a good thing to do? No, it's not a good thing to do. We should do our best to be loving and kind, right? In all circumstances. And so that's an example of bad peer pressure. And do you know today, while we're talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I want you to think about how they're experiencing peer pressure, and it's not positive, okay? So can you listen for that? All right, we are going to have our story here. Another thing about peer pressure is that sometimes we think to ourselves, everybody's doing it. It could be everybody's doing the good thing or everybody's doing the bad thing. The fact of the matter is usually there's somebody who's not doing it. Yeah, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are going to learn about that today. All right, we're going to bring Boynton back. He's saying hi to everybody. He is going to help tell our story. And we don't talk about Daniel very much. No. So we have to think about a different name when we're going to stand up and sit back down. Who should it be? Okay. Okay, Boynton thinks it should be King Nebuchadnezzar. Now, he's not a very good king. No, he's not a very good king, but it's a fun word to say and fun word to listen to, right? So listen for King Nebuchadnezzar. And every time you hear it, stand up, sit down, raise your hand, put your hand down, and we will tell the story, right? Okay, here it is. In today's Bible story, we're going to look at the book of Daniel, chapter 3. And the story is about Daniel's 3 close friends and a very scary situation they found themselves in. Do you remember King Nebuchadnezzar? One day, he decided he was going to build a large statue and force everyone to worship it. Would you like to see a picture of what that statue might have looked like? Let's see. Can you see that? Kind of looks like an Oscar, only it's huge. It's huge. So now, if you knew that you were only supposed to worship God and not make images of God, and then all of a sudden the king where you were was saying, I want you to worship this, would that be the right thing to do? Boynton, do you think? Okay, Boynton doesn't think it's the right thing to do to worship that statue, right? Okay, let's listen more to our story. He made a 90-foot statue made of pure gold. It was big and massive. It was bad that he made the idol. But then he ordered everyone in the kingdom to stop what they were doing, turn toward the statue, and worship it when they heard the trumpets blast. It's kind of a weird plan, but the king, Nebuchadnezzar, was serious. He said that if anyone did not bow and worship the image in gold, they would be thrown into the furnace of fire. That is a big punishment, isn't it? If you don't worship this statue, you will burn. Ooh, that's awful, isn't it, Boynton? Yeah, awful. Well, the time came and the trumpets blew and everyone in the kingdom bowed down and worshiped the statue. However, Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refused to worship the statue. They were committed only to worshiping the one true God. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. So the officials went to King Nebuchadnezzar and said, there are 3 Jews named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego who refused to bow down to the statue. King Nebuchadnezzar was furious. He had Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego brought to him. And he said, I'm going to give you one more chance. If you don't worship the statue, don't you realize what's going to happen to you? You will be thrown into the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, O King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves to you about this. If we are thrown into the fire, the God we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your hand. They also said, but even if God doesn't save us, we won't worship your statue. Do you hear that? They were being brave, weren't they? Yes, they were being brave. Wow, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego put their trust in God. They didn't allow peer pressure like everybody else in the kingdom. They were bowing to this idol because they didn't want to get burnt in the fire. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they didn't give in to peer pressure. Not at all. They stayed truthful to God. And that is an important thing for us to do as well, isn't it? Yes, to stay true to God in our faith. Also to stay true to what God tells us is right. Yeah? To be loving and to be kind and to serve others. Those are all good things to do. And so if we have friends who are telling us not to do those things, that's right, Boynton, maybe we should get better friends. Yes. Boynton, thank you so much for helping tell our story. Are you going to come back next time? Okay. We're going to hear more about our story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego next week. So Boynton's going to say goodbye, and I'm going to talk to you just a little bit longer. But isn't that an amazing story? I mean, Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, they were very brave, and they were very committed to God. And I hope that I would be that committed too, even if I had to face something that was terribly, terribly scary. So I want to read to you our power verse today. It's from Romans 2, and it says, don't copy the behavior and customs of the world. Don't copy the behavior and customs of the world. We need to be true to God, and we also need to make sure we don't get burned by peer pressure. Yeah, we don't want to get burned by peer pressure. And it's really important for us to remember that even though we might think everybody is doing the thing that we're trying not to do because we know it's not right, there are still other people probably that are also trying not to do it. Everybody isn't doing it. Think about it. Maybe Shadrach heard about it, and he could have said everybody's going to bow to the statue, but he wouldn't have been right, would he? Because there were still Meshach and Abednego who didn't bow to the statue either. So again, if you feel like all your friends are doing something wrong, you can still be nice to them, but it's probably time for you to go and find some other friends that have the same values you do and are going to try to be good just like you are. Now, it's also important for us to remember that it is not always easy to stand up for God. It is not always easy to stand up for God. It certainly was not easy for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but we know that it was the right thing to do. And so if you find yourself working out throughout the week and all of a sudden you feel like you need to say something that helps you stand up for the God that you love and who loves you, and it's hard, that doesn't mean it's wrong, right? It is hard sometimes to be the person who says, you know what? God wouldn't want us to treat our friend that way. God would want us to love them and to be kind and to help and to serve others. And sometimes there are going to be times when you have to remind others of that. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed our story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And like I said, we are not at the end of the story. We still have to learn what happens to them in the fiery furnace, right? Yes. So we're going to talk about that next week. And I hope that you will check out our video together so you can learn the rest of the story. Bye-bye.